You know, you don't understand segregation like you think you do, right? A lot of us hear segregation and we think, oh, okay, well, it means that just, the races were kept separately. The so-called races were kept separate. Well, that's not exactly it, right? Segregation is actually kind of a nice way of putting what was happening. Segregation was Jim Crow. Legislatively, things were different for black people in the United States than they were for other people. That's not nice. And I hear sometimes even people, even black folks being like, bring back segregation. And like, I know sometimes it's just like joking or like a little bit of cope, but some people actually mean it. They're like, no, just give us our own and just let us be separate and it'll be fine. And no, that's not how it fucking works. Ask the people, ask the entire town at the bottom of Lake Lanier, what happens when we have our own? Ask the people of Greenwood. Ask the people of Rosewood. What happens when you make laws that segregate people on race and somebody else who is not of your race has control of the places that you build, of the things that you build, right? There's a reason that Black Wall Street was destroyed because it was segregated. Yeah, sure, you can have your own, sure. But if you do too much, if you get more than we think you should have, we're going to take it and kill you and then lie about the history. So it's going to be another 100 years before it's really in the mass mind, right? Why do I bring this up? The Knesset just passed a law that the death penalty is available for certain people and not for other people. My cartoonish silence is on purpose. They're wearing little tiny noose pins. That's fucking horrifying. And you've probably heard me talk before about just how horrifying that the country that is not real is in terms of how grotesquely evil they are towards the people who they have in an open air prison, right? And now they're wearing little noose pins. What does that mean, right? And again, one of the reasons that people, especially even up to and including liberals, push back on the idea that the country that is not real is in fact not real is because if you think about it, that means our country isn't real either. And guess what? It's not. It's not. And I will go a step further. No countries are real, right? Peoples are real. Cultures are real, right? Those things are real, immutable, as old as there are as humans, as old as humankind itself, right? But cultures are not arbitrary lines. They're not determined just by birth either. There was an article that I shared. If you're part of the FOIFYP, which is, you should get into, it is, I basically taken a bunch of stuff from the internet and I'm putting it into Signal. So we have a place that is not social media so that people can kind of opt in to scrolling and it's not an eternal scroll. It's just stuff that's interesting, funny, gripping, interesting. It's got latest news, but it's also just got the weird shit that pops into my brain like this show. But on there, I posted something that's a really important reminder about how there was an Asian child that had 4C hair. And there's a person commenting like, what is there, like somebody black in their family? Like, did somebody lie? And then a person who actually is a scientist about race and about genetics is like, yeah, all that stuff we think about race, it's bullshit. They're just human traits, period. Okay? So yes, it is important for black people and people of color to gatekeep certain elements of culture, of the things that we do because we get stolen from all the time. Yes. But it's important to remember that all this shit is fucking fake. Borders are fake. Countries are fake. Race itself is fake. There are just traits. So no, like there are places in Africa where the people have blonde hair because it's just traits. It's just human stuff. And it's stuff that has been, a fine point has been drilled into it so that essentially capitalism and capitalists and the vulture class can make money by fostering division, right? And it's also, of course, why you can't just drill everything down to class reductionism, because race is a really important part of class. Right? Anyway, you don't understand segregation like you think you do, because it is not about, unfortunately, there is no route to the collective freedom without intersectional solidarity, without actually doing the hard fucking work. And I'm about to tell you exactly how hard it is, but without doing the hard work of linking across cultures, across races, across experiences, because that's what makes a strong party. D&D taught us this. You're not going to do well with a party of all fighters. One fireball, everybody's wiped. Right? You need people from different cultures with different abilities, with different strengths, with different weaknesses. And the same thing is true of the work we need to do now, which is also why your family of origin is not going to be the people you're going to do most of your organizing with. The people on your block are not going to be the people you do your deepest organizing with by nature. That's just not how it works, right? There is a strange, I'm going to say something that maybe a lot of y'all, maybe you won't like. I don't know, but it's true. So let's let it ride. People think that in-person stuff is most important, and it's not. That, my friends, is an example of how our ego, of how our view of like what is right in front of us being the most important thing is fucking up everything, right? We are failing to see how important it is that we can find the people that we don't have to argue with about the basics, people with whom we actually share values that, maybe they're not right on our literal block, but they could be a couple blocks over, a town over, not that far. And we're everywhere, right? Because there are no red states and blue states. It's all purple, right? It's all purple. And we can find each other now. We are finding each other now. And that's the reason that we're getting further than we have before. And the reason that, of course, they're trying to clamp down on everything so much harder. Right? The reason that they're trying to get rid of social media is not because social media isn't good for organizing. And I simply beg y'all to stop playing into their fucking trap that it's not, that we don't need social media, that you just got to go and talk to your neighbors. Yes, you have to talk to your neighbors for some things. Yes, you got to find people local to you to do ice watch and shit like that. Sure. But that's not necessarily going to be your literal next door neighbor. And you need a tool to find those people. And guess what tools there are? The fucking internet, social media, signal groups. They just posted a thing today, basically making everybody in this room and everyone who will watch this criminals further than we already were, right? Anyone who is anti-capitalist, anyone who doesn't believe in traditional values, right, is now even more targeted. That was always coming. We always knew that, right? When I say stuff like we're revolutionaries, you're a revolutionary, I'm not just saying that because I fucking saw, the Fred Hampton movie and I liked it a lot and I decided to just repeat it. It's because it's true. There are two roles available for human beings right now. You are a collaborator with the empire and with fascism and with the destruction of our planet, or you are a revolutionary. And yes, it is that simple. People who are trying to stand aside are collaborators, because whoever has power is going to continue with that power unless you stop them from having that power. Right? I'm going to talk later, a little personal anecdote and sort of a call to action. But now is a time for us to be fucking brave and bold and angrier than we are. We shouldn't be sad, right? I mean, of course, we're going to be sad because shit is bad. Shit is really bad. But we shouldn't. It is important to remember that this is not the simple march of history. These things were done to us. Everything that is happening has names responsible, has people responsible for making it happen. Because without them making it happen, there would be, like permaculture lawns everywhere. And there would be drinkable water. And you wouldn't have to worry about gasoline in the Strait of Hormuz because everybody would just have solar panels and we would have stopped using all that shit already. Because a bunch of oil companies and DuPont wasn't stopping us from actually using renewable sources that are going to be there forever, that you could plug in right the fuck now and would just take you off of the teat of every corporate industry that is destroying our world. Everything that is happening to us right now, there are people responsible. And we should be angry at them. I made a mistake. I posted something on my Instagram that turned out to be an old video. It was not current. And I didn't dirty delete. I deleted it so that it wouldn't spread further. But I also put in the edits, like, my bad. I got excited about this maybe being true and didn't do the due diligence that I should have because I am a human and because I wish, we're all a little bit Christian in this country. Even those of us who are witches or who are Jewish, or even those of us who are Muslims, because America and Christianity, a certain kind of Christianity, are super, super linked, right? And part of that is most relevant. Well, there's a few parts that are super relevant, right? But sort of forgiveness is a thing, and not being too harsh on the people who, we have to turn the other cheek and it's above our pay grade and we shouldn't be angry and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Fuck all that. You are angry. And if you think that you're not, you're lying to yourself. You're covering up rage because this was done to you. We don't have to be living like this. Okay? You can't therapize your way out of being governed by people so manifestly evil that they have everybody full of microplastics. People who have never touched a piece of plastic in their far from the closest place to go and get some plastic. It's coming in out of the rain. It's in the groundwater. Microplastics. Because somebody wanted something to do with the byproducts of the oil that they are yoinking out of the earth. And that kind of evil is it's beyond even the fucking Epstein files, which of course is wildly evil, and it's evil in a way that it's evil in a way that we really grip. But to me, I'm going to challenge you to see that it is actually much more evil to do something like Ford did and buy and then bury a car that was made out of, mostly renewable materials that took out, not only less gas, but could use basically garbage, like could use corn oil. I don't remember exactly. I made a video on this a while ago, but look it up. Ford took a car that is stronger basically than the materials that cars are made out of now, use so much less, don't use even gasoline that we use now, right? Made of renewable materials, and buried it. And this was in like the 50s. Our quality of life could and should be so much better. Why don't we have high-speed rail? Why are we still using fucking chugga choo-choos? We may as well still be in the fucking 1800s. When it comes to our trains. That's why we got to use airplanes to get places, which of course take more gasoline and of course use more emissions. It's not just Taylor Swift and her jets, but it's also all of us taking these giant explosion machines, right? Rocketing through the sky on the power of explosions from long dead dinosaurs. It's barbaric. And it was done to us. Be angry. Use that feeling. Because I say this a lot. Rage Against the Machine told us anger is a gift. It is not a sin. It doesn't mean that you are lesser than. It doesn't mean that you are weak. It doesn't mean that you are unable to control yourself. It means that you have been transgressed against, and your body is getting you activated to do something to end that transgression. That is where we are. That is where we should be. That is where we long ago should have been. right? Because we have been lied to about so many things. And we should be sad, yes. But don't just get stuck in sadness, because that just makes it about your feelings. The good thing about anger, about rage, and about embodiment, which we're going to hear soon in the astrological weather report. But the good thing about Mars is that it's there to make you act. It's not there to make you just feel good. It's there to make you do stuff. It's there to make you do stuff, and the stuff that you do now will make you feel good later, right? Not about what feels good right now, because right now ain't that much that feels good. Because things are indeed quite dire. But we're going to talk more about some things we can do about it, and we're going to talk more later towards the end of the show. But until then, I hope you enjoy what we put together for you. I hope you enjoyed our new segment, LG NYC, where I share some things with you just from my travels throughout NYC. That was just a random group of subway singers from, I think, around 2011 or something like that. I've got, I've been a photographer and a videographer and just, collector of images and videos for a long time. And I just have all this stuff just from my travels that I want to share with you. So let's get into our first segment, of course, the astrological weather report with our very own Alice Pope.